Europe. Europe may be examined in terms of location and physical characteristics, the legacy of Rome, international organizations, demographic characteristics such as age, languages, and the 10 most populous nations, the 10 nations with the highest populations. Europe is in the northwestern part of the Afro-Eurasian landmass. The Ural Mountains divide Europe from Asia on the east. The Mediterranean Sea separates Europe from Africa. The Atlantic Ocean is to the west of Europe. Europe is the 6th largest continent. The population of Europe is 743 million. By comparison, the United States has a little more than 300 million. The Alps. The Alps are a segment of the mountain chain that includes the mountain ranges from the Atlas Mountains of Africa to the Himalayas of Asia. The Alps were formed 44 million years ago when the African continental plate collided with the European plate. The Rhone, Rhine, Danube, and Po rivers begin in the Alps. The Pyrenees Mountains. The Pyrenees are the mountain chain between France and Spain. They separate the Iberian Peninsula from the rest of Europe. The Basque people of the area speak a non-Indo-European language. The origin of the language is unknown. The Roman Empire. The Roman Empire provides an example of cultural diffusion. The Roman Empire conquered much of Europe and left a cultural and linguistic legacy that exists today. Most European languages today use the Latin alphabet. Others use Greek or Cyrillic alphabets derived from Greek. The European Union. The European Union functions as a limited federal government for issues of security, economics, and social policy. It started as the European Coal and Steel Community in 1951, a treaty similar to NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. Additional treaties have created a union similar to a United States of Europe, but without a president. Many European nations have joined the European Union, but not all. The seat of the European Union's European Council, European Commission, and the Council of Ministers is in Brussels, Belgium. These are the European Union member states. I won't read all of them to you, but as you can see, it's an extensive list. The European Union. This is the EU symbol. You'll find this on their flags, a circle of stars. It does not represent one nation per star. The EU includes 27 member nations in Europe. Many member nations use the euro as their currency, but not the United Kingdom. The UK remains on the pound. NATO. This is the headquarters of NATO in Brussels. You can see the NATO flag in the middle, along with the large metal monument in the center of the small flower garden. It stands for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It was established April 4th, 1949. NATO was countered by the Soviet-led Warsaw Pact. Now defunct, the Warsaw Pact was a coalition of communist nations opposed to the Western democracies, capitalist Western democracies of NATO. NATO is headquartered in Brussels, Belgium. It is a military alliance of democracies originally united against the communist threat of the Soviet Union and its satellites in Eastern Europe. By satellites, I don't mean literal up in space satellites, but I mean the countries like, at that time, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, that were allied with the Soviet Union because after World War II, the leaders of the alliance against Hitler and the fascists divided Europe up between communist and Western democracies, and those were the unfortunate countries that fell on the communist side of the line and were ruled from Moscow. However, NATO now includes some former Warsaw Pact nations, such as Poland. NATO member nations. And here we have a list. I'm not going to read them all to you. But you can tell this is a pretty extensive listing of countries in Europe. Notice that Turkey, a Muslim country, is also a member of NATO. Europe's aging population. Falling birth rates in Europe are causing populations to shrink. The low population of young people and high numbers of elderly people may result in economic problems. The young are unable to provide for the social benefits promised to the old because fewer citizens cannot pay enough taxes to cover the cost of the programs. In other words, when these social programs were created, it was assumed that every generation would be larger than the generation before it. So the social planners expected there to be enough tax revenue to cover the number of elderly people. However, as healthcare improved, more people lived to become elderly. When birth control came along, fewer people were born. Therefore, there aren't enough young people paying enough in taxes to cover the cost of all the medical and social programs promised to the older people. This creates a problem for Europe because they simply don't have the population coming up to pay for the population growing old. Languages. Most European languages are in the Indo-European language family. The major divisions are Romance, Germanic, and Slavic. Romance languages are based on Latin, the language of the Romans. Many Slavic languages, like Russian, use the Cyrillic alphabet developed by St. Cyril. English is a Germanic language with influences from Latin and French. Top 10 European nations by population. We will look at the location, capital, and population of each of the 10 most populous nations of Europe. We have the Russian Federation. Population is 142 million. The capital is Moscow. As you can see, they cover much of Asia as well as a portion of Europe. While there's more land in Asia, there are more people in Europe for Russia. Germany. Population is 83 million. Capital, Berlin. France, population 65 million. Capital, Paris. United Kingdom, population 64 million. Capital, London. Italy, population 61 million. Capital, Rome. Spain, population 47 million. Capital, Madrid. Ukraine, population 45 million. Capital, Kiev. Poland, population 38 million. Capital, Warsaw. Romania, population 22 million. Capital, Bucharest. The Netherlands, population 17 million. Capital, Amsterdam. And the dark green part is the Netherlands. In conclusion, Europe is the smallest part of the Afro-Eurasia landmass. The Roman Empire left a lasting cultural and linguistic mark on Europe. Europe's aging population presents challenges for the future. The Indo-European language family's major divisions are Romance, Germanic, and Slavic. Sources. And Creative Commons notice.